Vanna Jacobs from Family Life joins us once again. Kia ora, thank you so much for your time today.
Kia ora, always a pleasure. Good to be here, Andrew.
Now, can we just do a quick recap for those who have just joined? Now, see if I get this right. Play together. That was the first
Yep.
one. Listening with our emotions, not just with our ears, and not being too quick to jump in. That was the second one. Now, I was away last week. I understand you spoke to Diane Campbell. What was the topic there?
That's it. So we talked about appreciate daily. So that's the A in the acronym plan.
Yep.
And today we're on to nurture a rhythm. So the 4 habits, and this isn't my work, by the way. Dr. Marcus Warner and Chris Causey wrote an amazing book called The 4 Habits of Joy-Filled Marriages.
Mm-hmm.
And the acronym plan actually gives you those 4 hacks or 4 tips as you will.
Yep.
So today we're talking about nurturing a rhythm. Really has...
This one I wasn't sure about. I thought this could mean several things. I was scratching my head about what type of rhythm we're talking about here, Wynand.
That's right. So this whole idea basically comes down to, we talk about the joy gap, and the most resilient couples are those with the most joy in their marriage, in their relationship. And we talk about this thing called the joy gap, which is basically the amount of time since you had a moment of joy together.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, typically the joy gap, one of the big reasons that grows is because of tiredness.
Yeah.
It's really hard to foster and focus on the things that bring you joy when you feel like you're exhausted, So maybe one of the reasons we don't prioritize rest and we don't actually prioritize the things that bring joy into our lives is that we lack rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, this is actually a biblical principle. When God created the earth, he did it in 6 days, and on the 7th day, he rested.
Yeah.
And then he also actually wrote it in the law, that we would take a Sabbath. Now, I'm not here to talk about when the Sabbath is or how religious we need to get about that, but I think there's some rhythm in looking at the designer of our lives and seeing, well, how are we nurturing rhythms of joy and rest in our marriage and as a couple?
This is so important because it can be like, oh gosh, here's the list of things that I need to do in order to have a joy-filled marriage, and then suddenly our life seems even busier than ever, and I've got to make sure that we play together and listen for emotion and do all these things, and I've got to juggle that with responsibilities at church, at home, and work and everything. But actually, if we don't have this one in place, if we're not resting, if we're not recharging, then we're not going to have the energy for anything else on the list.
Well, and the reality is, if we don't have time for the things that bring us joy in our lives, life becomes overwhelming. So I actually have less emotional resilience to deal with the difficult things in life, to go through the difficult seasons. There's one promise, there's many promises, but one of the promises that God actually gave us, Jesus, he said, is that in this world, you will have troubles.
Yeah.
But be of good cheer. I have come. Be of good cheer. Well, that sounds very close to have joy, be encouraged.
Yeah.
So this idea around, there's this wonderful illustration talking about the joy camp.
Mm-hmm.
It's this idea that you go away, the family goes away camping, and you set up camp and everybody's there, and it's multi-generational families, lots of kids, different ages, nephews, nieces, cousins, all of the above, right? So you got joy camp. This is where everything is set up. And then you establish some ground rules. It's like, you can go off exploring, maybe some of the older kids, you can go and conquer nature, or at least try to conquer nature, or the smaller, younger kids need to stay closer to the camp. You set up these parameters, and then you also set up a ground rule. It's like everybody needs to be back at camp by 8 p.m.
Okay.
Well, there's a reason for that, because there's other things that also happen around 8 p.m. as we share meals together. We talk about the day. You can talk about whether your stories about how you've conquered nature, or maybe how nature conquered you on the day. No matter what you go through out there in the day, you get to return to joy camp.
Yeah.
And it's actually the same in our homes. It's like, do we have a rhythm of joy camp at the beginning and the end of each day?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a full-on meal or a banquet or anything, but what rhythms bring joy to us, where we are staring each other in the face as a family, we are spending time together,
Yeah.
or we may be going for a walk together. We are doing something that brings joy. That means no matter what I've gone through in the day, no matter how difficult life is right now, I've got something to look forward to, that rhythm of experiencing joy with the ones I love on a regular basis.
That is really good, and I love the metaphor of Joy Camp, making sure, yes, we've got different things that take us to different places throughout the day, but let's make sure that we've agreed together that we'll come back, that we'll connect with each other, we'll connect with God, we'll connect over food, that becomes an important part of who we are as a couple, as a family, as a household.
Yeah.
And that becomes, I mean, different people perhaps have different rhythms, but you
Yeah.
create a structure that works for everyone, right?
Yeah, and let me just say, when life is tough, when the demands on our time become high, this is really difficult to do.
Yeah.
The temptation exists to just work a little bit longer to get the pressure off,
Yeah.
or to start a little bit sooner to get the pressure off. And my family gets it. They love me. They will understand. But that's the trap. And
Mm.
if we don't pay attention to these rhythms, I'm not saying there won't be seasons where we might miss out on some of those things. But if you can put a stake in the ground and say, in the morning, in the evening, here's a space where we connect together, we build each other up, we encourage and strengthen each other. It's Joy Camp, and
Mm.
you're invited.
Yeah, yeah, and being intentional about that and saying, hey, our marriage is a priority. A joy-filled marriage is something which we're working on together. You mentioned the book. I understand you've also had an opportunity to do an interview with the author. Is that correct?
That's right. And that's live on our social media and our website right now. So people can check it out. I think it's called The 4 Habits of a Joyful Marriage. I think that was the title we went for that
seems
video.
intuitive. And of course, the book is available for people that want to go deeper into this journey. PLAY, Play Together, Listen for Emotion, Appreciate Daily, and Nurture Rhythm. Wynand, such wonderful tools and tips. Thanks so much for what you do at Family Life. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.